What am I doing now?
The question is, how is your view of parents different than your grandparents?
My grandparents were, they very much, especially on my mother's side, they very much considered themselves not racist, but when it came to actual practice, they were. They were from Central Ohio and moved over to Indiana when I was a child. And I remember my grandmother talking about how nurses at the hospital would wash a black child's face on a white cloth and then show them that it was dirty. And then of course wash a white child's face and look, it's not dirty. And while she identified that as a rotten trick, at the same time, when I was about 13, I got very interested in South Africa, and that was when apartheid was still in force, and it's still very much a mess now, but a different kind of mess. And my grandmother went on this rant at me because the Africans weren't there first in that part of Africa, to her mind. So they should just accept the conditions that were set before them. So it was, there is like this dual mentality of accept your place while questioning it at the same time. So I was supposed to recognize these things going on, but to do nothing about them. And of course, my generation being what it is, of course I was going to do something about them. On my father's side, I'm half Polish, and I came from Northwest Indiana. My father was the child of two Polish immigrants that were more or less World War II refugees. And it was an odd situation in the part of Indiana I came from because it was Lake County. And the way the place is set up is half of the place, you have Gary, where a lot of the free blacks went around after they left during the Civil War, those that were able to. And it was also an iron town, and they were always going on strikes and going out of business or running out of material. So waves of poverty was kind of an issue there. And then I lived in the middle of the county in Crown Point, where everybody was white and everybody made a certain amount of money that my family didn't make. And everybody was white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, except for a few of us that were Polish. And so even though my mother had the strong white identity, I was having other white kids calling me half-breed and giving me this identity of being not quite white. Fair skin, blue eyes, but not the right kind of white. And, you know, on top of it being heavy set and everything, it was kind of a cluster. And at the same time, I found out while I was in college that my last name, Reichel, in the Polish pronunciation, translates to Rachel, which is what I use here, is actually Jewish in origin. My grandmother on my father's side was aggressively anti-Semitic. So just even proposing that our family name was Jewish would just make her turn purple and say a whole lot of things that I did not understand. So I'm trying to go, okay, so obviously my identity is so much bigger, and there's just no way that we didn't have that in there. And yet there's just this hate turned on it. It was truly bizarre. So looking at it, sometimes I think moving out to Minnesota, where I can kind of almost blend in, but every so often, because I live in Northeast Minneapolis, I will have minor incidents. They're actually mostly just funny. You know, the Polish grandmother going, oh, are you married? Oh, you're married. You're not Catholic. He's not Catholic. It doesn't count. You know, just those odd, not quite white moments. So that's my experience. And it is very, very different from my parents.